On today's Mega News, we are recapping everything we learned from the Tokyo Game Show 2022 in regards to Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, including gameplay demo impressions and comments from the developers themselves. Let's go, Lan! Before we begin, I do recommend checking out our previous Mega News video on the Battle Network Legacy Collection. Link to that video will be in the description below, as that one went over the 3D PT styled menu and the announcement that online functionality is coming for net battles and chip trading in the collection. However, there's no crossplay with different versions. Since then, we haven't learned anything new about the online functionality. However, there's some small menu things like extra Mega Man interactions we're going to go over as it comes up. So to begin this journey to recap everything we learned about the collection at the show, Rockman Unity held an interview with Mr. Famous himself, Masakazu Iguchi, and here we get several different development details about the collection. Of course, it's all in Japanese. Thankfully, Rockman Corner gave us a breakdown of the main points from the interview. First up, in regards to the online communication features, Iguchi says that the team actually planned for this from the very beginning of development. It seems that online play was meant to be the key feature for the Battle Network Legacy Collection from the very start. Then the collection got announced, and it turns out the demand for the online functionality was greater than even Iguchi expected. So when that feedback reached them, it became very clear that online play was indeed a shared dream between both the development staff and the fans. That said, Iguchi mentions that online play isn't the only aspect of the collection that they're putting a lot of time and effort into, the details of which we'll have to hear another time, but I'm going to vouch for this man by saying as we go through the video today, the hard work that the staff is putting into this collection is going to become very apparent. Speaking of, here comes one of the biggest news of the day. The games in the Battle Network Legacy Collection are not emulation, surprisingly. They are actually source ports. Similar to how the Mega Man ShadowRockZX Legacy Collection worked, the development team is taking the source code and rebuilding the games from scratch for the current generation hardware. And Iguchi says rebuilding the communication features for each of the games for online play required a significant amount of work. And that does line up with things I've heard personally, that the development team has been struggling quite a bit to get online to work. And not to mention in the TGS stream when he said that online play is in development, it does start to sound more like the online play might not come at launch. It might be a free update later on. But that does remain to be seen. There hasn't been any announcements regarding that, so take it with a grain of salt. And let's hope that the development team is far enough ahead that we will see online play at launch. Iguchi further says that source ports were necessary because the games did require some changes for the modern hardware. What changes those are, he doesn't specify. But still, I think that's great news that they're going to be source ports. Yeah, we might not be able to swap ROMs to put in things like the ShadowRock patch, unless someone ports it from scratch. But it should definitely make mods like remaster soundtrack mods that we had in the ShadowRockZX Legacy Collection way easier. And yeah, that's exciting. Being source ports also means that latency should be down to a minimum. So you should have little to no input lag to worry about unless your TV is god awful with that. Suffice to say though, the source port news is making the modding community go ballistic. Mostly due to the fact that the original GBA games were written in assembly code, so a fair chunk of the community wasn't convinced that source ports would even be a thing for this collection, despite the fact that we have seen the high resolution text since the announcement trailer. I guess it goes to show, the original developer always knows best. Moving on, it's been said that 3 million Japanese characters across the 10 games, approximately 7,500 pages in total, are being translated into multiple languages, which Iguchi says has made bug checks for all 10 games really time consuming. So there's some potential implications we can pick up from this. The first is that they are working on new translations for languages that haven't been covered by the games before. One of the confirmed translations we know about now is the Chinese language. Beyond that, however, Capcom hasn't said anything about all the languages that will be supported in the final release. Also, due to this, people have been wondering if we're going to get a retranslation in English for the collection, especially for Mega Man Battle Network 4, which had a ton of typos and weird things about it. Well, to be honest, it's hard to say since this was a Japanese focused show. We can only really judge from Japanese gameplay, and unless Capcom USA shows off EXE4 at some point, it's fair to say we may not know the truth until release. I am of two minds of them potentially redoing the script though. On the one hand, yeah, it would be nice to have a better translation. On the other hand, the memes, man! If anything, I just hope they don't touch Battle Network 2 because that game was perfect the way it was. All that to say, something like that is not confirmed. All we really know about right now is that they're doing extra translations for other languages. Next, Akuchi says some old design documents and planning materials such as maps drawn on paper with a pencil from the GBA era were not in perfect condition, so he had to consult some of the original Battle Network developers. He also admitted that he found it difficult to answer questions from the staff in charge of porting sometimes. So hold on, Famous, back up a little bit. Why are we asking old developers about the map of all things? Aren't the games basically done at this point? So there's been some theories about what this means exactly. Are they making map changes to the games? If so, we haven't seen any changes yet from the footage we've seen so far. Are they making digital maps for each of the areas in the game to help with traversal in games like Battle Network 1? I guess EXE6 in Japan did have a map feature to it, the only of the GBA games to do so. So if they're going to remake those of high-res assets, I guess they would need the original planning materials. Or my personal guess, perhaps they needed to recreate some of the old design documents for the gallery mode included in the collection. Either way, that's an interesting thing to mention offhand. Lastly, from the Rockman Corner recap, 4Gamer approached the development staff to ask if we're getting the event-exclusive battle chips, things like the Gospel series, Prick's Power, the Gregor and Falzar chips, and so on. The Dead team responded that they have not decided yet if they're going to actually include the event chips in the collection, which to me sounds like PR speak for we have nothing to announce at this time. Let's hope they do though, because even with the Wii U Virtual Console ports, while a vast majority of the secret chips were included, there were still some missing ones here and there. So obviously it would be a great thing to have everything content-wise within the collection itself. And on that topic, let's start talking about the gameplay demo at the TGS show floor. To set the stage a little bit, what attendees got to experience was EXE 1 through 3, the main menu with the 3D Mega Man, the gallery, and the settings. EXE 4 through 6 was not at the show, unless you count the Capcom TV livestream where they showed EXE 4 once. Anyway, on the topic of secret chips, Berserk Boy via Protodude says that a new option was added to the EXE3 Navi customizer in the Legacy collection. At least in the demo, holding down the Y button allowed him to download 2 gigachips to his folder, Bass and Punk. I'm pretty sure Punk is a mega chip by the way, but since he also got Bass, does that mean that he was playing the blue version equivalent in the Japanese version and he just got the other version's Bass chip? At least that's how it would have worked if we were playing the Wii U Virtual Console version. The standard Bass Gigachip isn't even secret, however, so do they mean Bass GS? Furthermore, if it's true that it's in the Navi customizer menu, that's an odd place to put it considering Battle Network 2 doesn't have a Navi cus, so you wouldn't be able to access a menu like that to download the secret chips. Unless he's talking about the Mega Man menu with the status screen. That might make a little bit more sense to me. Either way, it's possible none of this really matters because it could be a demo only thing. Out of all the footage that's come out of the show on the demo, we also haven't seen this feature with our own eyes yet. But if it really is there, That's interesting that they would even show us the secret chips at all, which goes to show that despite what the dev staff told 4Gamer, they most likely are thinking about how best to distribute the event chips. By the way, in case you were wondering if we could use the old Wii U Virtual Console method of getting the secret chips, unfortunately, as we feared, the communication menu was disabled for the demo. You could save regularly through that menu, but not through the communication menu, so we don't know if the secret chips would be added to your pack that way. Between the online functionality announcement and the fact that Gucci said these are source ports, I am thinking these are not the Wii U Virtual Console ports, so it doesn't matter anyway. Alright, let's dig deeper into the demo at the TGS show floor for Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, or should I say Rockman EXE Advanced Collection. We get an extremely great look at this demo thanks to an awesome 17-minute video from YouTube user Soa Hasu. And I'll leave a link to this in the description below if you want to take a look for yourself. And I have to give shoutouts to them because once they realized that English fans were looking at their video, they decided to add English subtitles so everyone can enjoy it. So from here, I'm going to quickly summarize what we learned from his coverage. I suppose we can begin with what the Battle Network Legacy Collection booth looked like at the show. Obviously, you had to wait in line and get a trial ticket to play the game, and they had different setups for the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and so on. To help pass the time in line, they had the very first episode of the Rockman EXE anime playing on loop on a little television right beneath the banner, along with the Legacy Collection trailers. Yeah, showcasing the anime is a really nice touch because it really was a huge part of the Battle Network culture back then. If you were playing the games when they came out, you were probably watching the anime on TV. After you're done playing the game, you can move on over to this giant banner with the Legacy Collection artwork and a mascot Mega Man EXE. He's back, baby. The banner behind him does feature the official artwork of several different operators and NetNavis from across the 6 games. Yeah, I tried checking to see if there was anyone from the spin-offs like Battleship Challenge or Network Transmission, but no, I couldn't find anything like that. It's strictly EXE 1 through 6. Anyway, you would take a photo with Mega Man himself, and if you post a photo on social media, you will receive a calendar based on the Legacy Collection for 2023. Man, I want a Battle Network calendar. Alright, getting on to the demo gameplay for real this time. The very first thing that becomes apparent is the fact that the title screens for every game has been reworked entirely from high-res assets. If you were to compare one of these to the GBA original, the difference is night and day. It's like an HD remake, but for the title screen. The title screens look so freaking clean now. Not to mention the high resolution text that we touched on before, both in the title screen and in the dialogue as you play, just helps to elevate the experience a little bit more to make things look really nice and clean. The English font chosen does leave something to be desired, but at least it isn't pixelated, I guess. Moving on to the PET styled main screen, we have a couple Rockman interactions to go over. The first one is the one that we've seen from the previous announcements, but the dialogue is slightly different between the English and the Japanese. So as you know, Andrew Francis himself says,
"Hey there, I'm Mega Man. I'll be your Navi while you play. Let's do this thing."
Meanwhile, Rockman EXE, voiced by Kiko Kimura, the original actor, says,
"Yeah, 僕はロックマン。今日から僕が君のナビだよ。これからよろしくね."
At least that's the gist of it. Next, Suahasu does confirm that you can press the L button to talk to Mega Man, and in the interaction that follows, he will do a stretch and a little yawn, and then he'll ask you which game would you like to start with. That's cute. But you know what's even cuter? This next interaction that actually comes from the second Capcom TV livestream. So to set the stage a little bit, they had Rockman EXE's voice actress, Akiko Kimura, come on the show. She talked a little bit about the anime, did some voice lines for us, and even showed off her original script for the first episode of the anime. But more importantly, during the stream, they showed off one Rockman interaction in the main menu, and well, Why don't you just listen for yourself?
なんですけれどもね。
はい。
あ、ここです。
もう後ろ向いたりするんだ。あ
これ、
あ。はい。
あ、なんか、行ってみよう。行ってみよう。さあさあちゃっちゃ、クイズアワー。かわいい。
これ。
Aw, isn't that adorable? Rockman sings. And it's not just any random tune. According to the Rockman EXE Zone, it's actually the jingle for Quiz-kun in the game, or as we know him in the English version, Mr. Quiz. Don't worry if you didn't catch the reference on listen though, because the Mr. Quiz jingle in the Japanese version is quite a bit more involved than the English one. In fact, it's entirely different, so yeah, don't worry about it if you didn't get it. Still, I think it's pretty neat that Rockman makes a reference to Mr. Quiz of all things. I enjoyed the quizzes in the Bow Network series, even if I end up brute forcing them a lot. Next up, Soahasu does give us a really good look at the settings menu in the collection. Furthermore, Gamer Brave shared a screenshot of the English version of the settings menu, which definitely cuts down on the translation work, and simultaneously confirms that even in the demo version, you can switch the game's language to the one that you prefer. So you know, if you really hate Andrew Francis's voice, which how could you? You can always just switch it to Japanese if you rather hear Rockman. This may also come into play if it turns out the Boktai content isn't restored in Bow Network 6, which that remains to be seen at this time. Anyway, let's take it from the top. The first menu is button config. Here you get a layout of the controller and what all the buttons do. You can switch your control type from 1, 2, and so on. Soahasu also mentions that the select button is assigned to the L2 and R2 triggers, and when he tried to change that, well, he wasn't able to, which may confirm that you're not going to be able to switch your controls on a button basis, but rather choosing your button config from some preset options. I guess we'll see when the game comes out though. Second up is the display settings, which there are only two, the screen size and the toggle for the smoothing filter. Pretty standard for a legacy collection. Though it's interesting to note the lack of a scanline filter that was a thing in past legacy collections like the ShadowRockZX collection, and that one had GBA games too. Not that I'm really missing it, I never used a scanline filter. But anyway, regarding the smoothing filter that they put on everything in all the trailers and even the Capcom TV footage, yep, it's definitely pretty ugly. But I will say this much, I think the smoothing filter benefits EXE 4 through 6 the best, due to the more anime art style in those games. The mugshots in particular look not half bad. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. Here are all the different border options which are available for every game. From left to right, we have a wallpaper featuring Lan, Mega Man, Chad, and Proto Man, another one with Roll and Mail, the World 3 net navis from EXE1, a wallpaper of the main cast, Dex and Gutsman, Meilu and Roll, Lan and Mega Man, Chad and Proto Man, and Yai and Glide. A wallpaper of all of the EXE2 style changes, regular Mega Man, Wood Shield style, Aqua Custom style, Hub style, but wait a minute, Team and Gut style are looking kinda different today. Yeah, for some reason, with this wallpaper, they went with Heat Team style and Elec Gut style. Usually in the official artwork and in the anime, the elements would be the reverse. But you know what? I actually started with Elec Gut style back in my first playthroughs of Bow Network 2 and 3. So, I'm not actually too bothered by this selection, even if I think that red looks better on Gut style. The next wallpaper features a lot of the viruses from EXE2. And then we have the EXE3 wallpapers, one featuring the box arts for both versions, one with Heat Shadow style Mega Man and Punk, and the third with Bass himself, complete with a gospel canon. So if you've been counting, it looks like every game gets 3 different wallpapers assigned to them, which is pretty neat because past legacy collections, you would be lucky to get 1 wallpaper for each game. However, since the EXE 4 through 6 games are not here in this demo, we don't get to see those wallpapers today. That said, there is one more included wallpaper with the Legacy Collection renders of the main cast. Looks pretty nice. Overall, I gotta say the wallpapers aren't too bad. Which one's your favorite? For me, it's probably the EXE2 style changes and the Heat Shadow style one, with an honorable mention going to the Roll and Mail poster. Alright, next is the sound settings, and things are about to get pretty spicy with this one. So, for the very first time in Legacy Collection history, and even Battle Network history, you can actually set the volume for the background music and the sound effects individually. You know what that means, streamers? Now we can turn off the background music and play whatever soundtrack we want while we grind out those battle chips. That's gonna be great for streamers, let's players, and even the casual user if you want to listen to something else while you play. It's one of those great modern settings that has never appeared in a Battle Network game before. So yeah, this is great. The last option is return to title screen, which does as it says, it performs a reset on the game. And the last option just quits the game outright back to the collection menu. As a fun little anecdote, Suahasu did confirm that you can use the reset function in the collection to save scum the mystery data in EXE 1 and 2 still. So that is wonderful to hear. Overall, the settings are very straightforward, but I'm really happy to see that sound settings option. Ending off the video, Suahasu did try to do one last thing before his demo time ended, and that was make it all the way to the point that Higsby's chip shop opens up, and find out if you can save scum the chip trader. So he tried to speedrun EXE 1, he got through Fireman and then Numberman, which is really impressive. But unfortunately, he forgot that he also has to go through Stoneman to get to the chip trader. And alas, his demo time came to an end before that could happen. That's a real bummer, man, but I salute you for trying to provide the content that we deserve. And speaking of content, definitely make sure to thank this man for providing some really great coverage on the collection. Once again, link to that video will be in the description below. Alright, we're almost at the end here. Just a couple more items to go over. So, like I said before, Capcom TV had their own live streams with the collection. The first one featured a famous YouTuber playing EXE1. And thanks to that footage, Grega Master was able to go over the text in the Japanese version, and ultimately was able to determine that we are not looking at the Operation Shooting Star script here. The script is literally identical to the GBA original. That combined with the fact that we have not seen any of the OSS quality of life changes in EXE1 so far, it's very possible that we are indeed looking at just the straight GBA version of Battle Network 1, flaws and all. That said, the YouTuber never tried to run away from a battle in the stream, so I don't know if that's going to be a thing at least. That one's a bit of a downer, but don't worry folks, I saved one of the best news for last. So during that very same Capcom TV livestream, they were having a conversation with Iguchi-san and Nochi-san, and in the middle of it all, Iguchi apparently just casually drops the info that for the collection in EXE6, they are actually going to fix one very annoying thing that plagued the original. If you played Battle Network 6, you guys will remember getting to the very end of the game, defeating Gregor or Falzar, rolling the credits, but when you return to do the post-game, you quickly realize, oh, the Panic Incident music is still playing in the background. And so thus, for the rest of eternity, you gotta listen to that stupid 15-second loop grating on your ears, making you go absolutely insane, all while you're doing the post-game content. Yeah, it's horrible. Heck, I had to deal with it so long that I honestly had forgotten what the regular overworld themes sound like. And it's a shame because EXE6 has some awesome music, except for the panic music, which I hate with a passion now. But no longer folks, no longer will we have to suffer, because Iguchi-san has confirmed the fix is coming. In the Battle Network Legacy Collection, when you hit that post game, you will no longer have that panic music still playing. it's gonna be the regular overworld themes once again. Just like how it works in every other game, except for EXE4 I guess. And man, that is, oh man, that's hype, I'm not gonna lie, because that was one of my main complaints about EXE6. I remember it was so bad that people online had to find workarounds to this. For example, they tried saving before the final scenario when you go to the expo and do Gregor and Falzar and all that, just so that when they reloaded their save after beating the game, they could still listen to the regular music, since it would technically still be in the previous scenario, but you would still have the title mark icon so you could do the post-game area. Yeah, I think people going out of their way that hard goes to show how much of a problem it really was, and apparently this was felt worldwide. So much that Capcom actually went and fixed it for us in this collection coming up, and that's some good stuff right there. So in conclusion folks, that's everything we learned at TGS 2022 for the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. There's some really good stuff in here like the source port, the Panic music getting fixed, not to mention the previous announcements that online is coming. So there is one last thing. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection actually won an award at the Tokyo Game Awards happening at TGS. Specifically, they got the Feature Division Award, which is awarded to unreleased games that have a bright future ahead of them. Basically, they think it's going to be a really good game when it comes out. Fun fact, Mega Man 11 actually won this award too back in TGS 2018. The only two other Mega Man titles to receive this honor was Mega Man Battle Network 3 and Mega Man Battle Network 5. So I guess with this most recent award, all the games got something now. Anyway, big congratulations to the Rockman EXE Events Collection team for that. That's pretty awesome. And I think it proves what I'm about to say next. And that is, from all the footage and news that's come out over the course of TGS, I think one thing has become clear to me, that the team behind this collection is clearly passionate in what they're doing, and this collection is not just going to be some quick cash grab with some ROMs plopped onto it and calling it a day. No, they're going the extra mile with this collection. There's just so many little details and things that they didn't really have to do if they just wanted to put the collection out there and make some money. You know, I'm talking about the online, the fact that they went through the trouble of remaking the title screens, porting the games from scratch for the different consoles, making little changes that the fans asked for, stuff like that. They could have absolutely taken the lazy way out with a lot of these, but they didn't. No, they're putting in the hard work to make this the definitive way to play Mega Man Battle Network in the future. So you know, next time when you get a chance, I think it's worth showing your appreciation for Aguchi-san, Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, the producer, and the rest of the Battle Network development team for putting in the big hard work for making this collection actually really good. Like seriously, no cap. I said in my 0ZX Legacy Collection review that that was the best Legacy Collection to date in terms of quality, but I think from what we've seen so far, the Battle Network Legacy Collection could easily top even that. Because more than anything else, the thing that's standing out at this showing at TGS is the amount of care and attention to detail they're putting into this collection. And it's awesome. So, that's all from me from now. But definitely stay tuned to ShadowRockZX for all things Mega Man, including more on the Battle Network Legacy Collection. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys again another time. Because after this video, I'm gonna be moving, so when we meet again, I'm gonna be in the new place. We'll see how that goes, huh? So until next we meet, rock on. And remember, no matter where we are, we're always connected.